What's up, you beautiful Redditors? Hope you're having a fantastic Wednesday. Welcome to the RNEWS evening show. And let's just jump into it. From r/politics, AOC says US must atone for rights violations after whistleblowers ICE hysterectomy claims. Thank heavens a politician has addressed this so we can actually talk about this freaking atrocity. In this community, several legal advocacy groups on Monday filed a whistleblower complaint on behalf of a nurse at an Immigration and Customs Enforcement (ICE) detention center documenting jarring medical neglect within the facility, including a refusal to test detainees for the novel coronavirus and an exorbitant rate of hysterectomies being performed on immigrant women. Oh, okay, our official policy is to condemn China's treatment of Uyghurs, but we'll happily apply it to our own immigrants. We are a freaking fascist state committing genocide. Need more proof? We've already checked all 14 boxes of a fascist state by Umberto Eco. The cult of tradition. The rejection of modernism. 1, 2, 3. The cult of action for action's sake. Disagreement is treason. Fear of difference. 1, 2. Appeal to a frustrated middle class. Obsession with a plot. The enemy is at the same time too strong and too weak. Pacifism is trafficking with the enemy. Contempt for the weak. Everybody is educated to become a hero. Machismo. Selective populism. Newspeak. I will never again wonder how Hitler came to power so quickly. You're watching the RNEWS show. From r/World News. Like an experimental concentration camp, whistleblower complaint alleges mass hysterectomies at ICE detention center. A reminder that there were different kinds of concentration camps. Most people think of the extermination camps, but those actually only came into existence very late in the war. There were actual detainment camps, work camps, and so on, with varying degrees of cruelty and murder. Hitler didn't start his reign by exterminating the Jews. It was a process, a development of plans and camps into what it became at the end. Not to mention the US has used hysterectomies as a form of targeted genocide multiple times in its history. Nazi Germany based their plans off eugenics programs in the US. This is fully in keeping with history. According to Wooten, ICDC consistently used a particular gynecologist outside the facility, who almost always opted to remove all or part of the uterus of his female detainee patients. Everybody he sees has a hysterectomy. Just about everybody, Wooten said, adding that, everybody's uterus cannot be that bad. We've questioned among ourselves like goodness he's taking everybody's stuff out. That's his specialty. He's the uterus collector. If he is so well known as the uterus guy, what is his name then? Where's this one gonna get filed under? Didn't happen. Media lies and propaganda did happen. But media greatly exaggerates scope did happen. But it's actually totally fine and really a great idea. You're watching the RNEWS show. From r/World News. Biologists warn, extinction denial is the latest anti-science conspiracy theory. Spike in extinction denial is likely this week after UN publishes latest biodiversity figures. Almost every single country has failed on its commitments and will likely come nowhere close to reaching its zero-emission target by 2050. The conspiracy theorists in denial are the government who refuse to do anything about it. Why? Because they're bought by the big businesses. Realistically, what can the average person do besides get an electric car? At least blame the right people and not the average person who scrapes by. BP's personal carbon footprint campaign is one of the greatest PR successes ever perpetrated by a corporation. They literally shifted the blame from themselves to the individual, and the environmentalists jumped on it like rabid, starving dogs. You're watching the RNEWS show. From r/News. ICE detainees face medical neglect and hysterectomies, whistleblower alleges. Wasn't this the thing we were freaking out about the Chinese doing to Muslims? The USA has legalized torture and nobody cares. As if this will even raise eyebrows. The one thing the USA truly leads the world in is hypocrisy. You mean the thing President Trump told Xi Jinping he was totally cool with? Vote 2020. Our democracy is at stake. Vote in person or drop off your ballot in a Dropbox if possible. The mail system is under attack. The pre-apocalypse includes a post-apocalypse apparently. Not cool with, but encouraging. He believes it's exactly what Xi needs to do. Edit. Source: Trump told China's president that building concentration camps for millions of Uyghur Muslims was exactly the right thing to do, former advisor. John Bolton, said. At least two included. John Bolton says, unlike the last guy, who failed to include that. I wonder why. I hate that I have to include that I don't like Trump. And I personally believe that he did say that. But people should at least be factual. Similarly, I hate how the media reports on everything Trump does as if it's all equally bad. Like Trump has messy hair, dementia, and we'll talk about this for 3 days. Trump conspired with Russian asset. Might briefly get mentioned. The reason this bothers me is because it adds fuel to the fire of the right arguing that everything Trump does gets blown out of proportion. You're watching the RNEWS show. From r/politics, DeJoy gave $600,000 to GOP after postmaster job opened up. This administration is so corrupt. The fact that he owns 50 million minus 70 million in competition stocks is insane, and then he tries to crumble the post office. Trump will end up in jail, mark my word. Trump will end up in jail, mark my word. Oh, I hope so. He has to. If this country is to survive as a nation of laws, Biden cannot let this slide. If we manage to vote him into the office of president, he must encourage and allow an investigation. And the other Democrats in the positions necessary to actually perpetuate the investigation must be pressured, as well, so that the truth can be revealed and reconciliation may begin. Anything less, and the American experiment will be well and truly in the grave. Trump is blackmailing the GOP simply by his own corruption. He's daring them to throw him under the bus because, if they do, there's a fear that it will end careers and possibly the party itself. If you want to know when the GOP will let Trump get what's coming to him, the time is never, and Trump has endless carte blanche with the law. The more he breaks the law, the more security he has within the party. There's a fear that it will end careers and possibly the party itself. I'll never vote for another Republican because of their actions for the past 4 years. Then he received $70 million back from the Corona aid kickback. Creative accounting. You're watching the RNEWS show. From r/politics, Biden creates legal war room, preparing for a big fight over voting. It's a freaking travesty that preparing for a contested transition is even needed. Yet here we're casually talking about tyranny, the very thing our founding fathers freaking abhorred and sought to avoid. Unfortunately, the reason Trump is able to entertain and potentially carry out the idea is because his supporters would welcome tyranny with open arms as long as they perceived it owned the libs. And his supporters would freaking welcome it because we are no longer a democracy governed by majority rule and tempered by minority rights. Now, we have a president and Senate who freaking pander directly to the people to promote mob rule. But they seem to have forgotten that the power of government is based on the belief it exists. If Steve Bannon's prophecy comes true, the government won't exist. He said they were planning on shutting everything down, and they have done some serious damage so far. What is the end game there? Some kind of neo-feudalism, probably. Coming Neo-Feudalism is a book on the subject. You are absolutely right. The USA is already scientifically proven to be an oligarchy. So a return to feudalism is exactly what we already have. It's just being more and more solidified, codified, entrenched, etc. And that's where we're going to end today's show. But if you like what you saw, leave a like, and if you want to see more of the RNEWS show, hit that subscribe button. As always, this has been the RNEWS show, and I'll see you tomorrow.